Welcome to another inspirational episode of the Pincast, where you learn to listen and listen to learn. My name is Ryan Quinn, the founder of Ryan Quinn Fitness, Training and Mindset Coaching. With each episode, we will bring on inspirational people who are striving to make a change in themselves, and then inspire you to do the same. And as the old saying goes, keep living, keep strong, and KeeperLS. Aboo.
Ryan, as Trevor McDonald would say, this is your life. We're
Yes.
here today on the podcast to essentially see who Ryan Quinn is. Why should anybody listen to Ryan Quinn? Why have people been listening to Ryan Quinn? And answer all in this podcast, however long it should be.
Thank you, Ryan, for inviting me onto my podcast. Just what you said there now, I think the reason why we're doing this podcast is Why Me, and I'd say we'll title it Why Me. People's going to think, oh, is he going to come on a big sad story? Why did this happen to me? But basically, what I want to do here is I'm bringing guests on, and I want to sit at the other side of the table because I've done podcasts before, and the true authentic self hasn't came out because the last podcast I done was almost 3 years ago, and it was in the early stages of recovery, and I just relapsed, and it wasn't the true me, even though I thought it was. So it just goes to show, there's always personal development there as the years go on. Who I was 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, a year ago, 6 months ago, and just continuously becoming a better version of me to offer to everyone out there.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people have seen and even heard through the other podcast episodes bits and pieces about your story, because I think there's a lot within that story you can relate to with your clients especially.
Yeah.
There's a lot of clients come on, and even if we look at D, didn't necessarily struggle with addiction but had other struggles and tribulations that affected his life that made him seek change. Then you have Harry, who almost has lived an identical life to yourself in terms of doing a bit of time and struggling with other vices, as you call them. So I think probably the best place to start is kind of setting the record straight in your words, kind of the upbringing, the path that you were on, and kind of everything that has led you to sitting in this seat right now.
Yeah. My upbringing was fantastic. I can't fault my upbringing. I was brought up strict, but I was brought up to work. Even though at that time I didn't want to work, it was instilled in me, and that's, my brothers are the same, my sister's the same. We all have a serious work ethic in us, and we've all got our own businesses. So like my childhood was brilliant. It was top class. We moved a lot when I was young. A lot of movement when I was young. I can remember that. There's a lot of things going on back then. Would have been in the 80s. I was born in 81. It actually says 82 in this T-shirt, but that wasn't the printer. He gave me a year. God bless him. But I was born in 81 in December. It was a Christmas baby. And I was born in Ardbow. So that's where I was born. Obviously, I was born in a hospital in Markerfelt. Brought home to Ardbow. It was Lakeview Cottages. And then we moved to Moortown, to the Battery, where the Battery Bar was. My granda owned that. And we lived there, not say we lived rough, I think we kind of, maybe a caravan for a while, and then we built a house just on the hill there at the Battery. That was where, that was our first real home. And my grand owned the bar, the Battery Bar. My father he was plastering, he was fishing. Then my mother would have been working in the bar. I think there was a chippy and all there at the time. These are only like stories. But I had family heavily involved in paramilitaries. So, some people try to say I try to shy away from it. I'm not sectarian in any way. I wasn't brought up, but they were members of the IRA. And one uncle, he was shot dead in Coke, ambushed, and another cousin who I looked at as an uncle would have been one of my really, looking back now, one of my childhood traumas, that he was in our house that morning and I was punching his hands because he was into boxing and he was teaching me to box. And he told me he'd got me boxing gloves and a punch bag for my birthday. And the next morning I woke up, I was told he died. And he was shot dead by loyalist paramilitaries at the Battery bar door. I can dive really deep into that, not in a traumatic way. We were always down south, up and down from the border. Didn't know why. I had no clue why we were going down to see my granny and granda down south, and why I was going back up north, and why the police were taking our car and taking the seats out of it. We were standing on the side of the road. I just thought it was fun. But like now looking back, I knew that I was deep in the troubles. And everybody was in our area, in Arbo we live, in that Tyrone area. So like that first traumatic, as I say, childhood was brilliant, but that, just looking back now, that was losing that person close to me. And I waited for, like, it was, I was only 8 or 9, maybe 10 years of age. I was waiting on those boxing gloves to come, even though he was passed away. I was more worried, was I going to get the boxing gloves or on the punch bag? But like now, to this day, like that, I can still, like I was only 8 or 9, I can still see his face, his glasses, the smell of him, the coat and all. So if it would have been a traumatic kind of time in my life, but I didn't understand it. I just thought it was, somebody died, but where's my punch bag and my gloves? So we lived there for a few years, and then when I was about, and I think it was maybe 86 or 87, we moved up to Arbo, to a wee small cottage on Killycannon Road, to where my home house is to this day. Mum and Dad still live there. And that's whenever life started to come together. I was in Moortown School, then I moved to Arbo School. I lived in the Battery, but when we sold the house, I had to live with my granny until that cottage was across the line. And it's only now looking back as an adult that I understand what was going on. We just thought it was class. We're staying in grannies and we're seeing our uncles and we're seeing everybody on a Sunday. And then we move up to Arbo, and I was like, I can remember my first day of school, primary school. I can remember crying. I remember just standing there crying. I didn't know where to go, what to do. But that's part of growing up. And even though I was a child, you can still have those feelings now. Whenever you're in a place where it's new. It's even like anything. Like if someone's starting off a training program, a nutrition program, a mindset program, it's like the first day of school. And you don't know, you're nervous. Even this podcast now, like I remember doing my first one, but I can do this now with ease because I've been through all those times. So I started school at Arbo, Mullinholme Primary School, and then I just grew a love for boxing and Gaelic football.
I think there's a lot to be said, definitely with childhood trauma, like following into adulthood. And as you say, like a lot of time when it happens as a child, you don't really understand it, but it sticks. The scars are there, the wounds are there.
Yeah.
They might have healed over, but I think it's whenever you come into these other situations that you've talked about, like in adulthood, where you're maybe in an environment that evokes the same emotion, and you don't really understand why you've triggered it that way. Just from knowing you and knowing your family past, I know that your father, very successful man.
Yeah.
I always remember you telling the story of, when he sold his first business, he was retired for about 6 or 8 months, and now he's got quite a portfolio of businesses around Northern Ireland that he oversees and takes care of. So even though you had the traumatic instances in childhood, would you say also seeing your father's work ethic, good or bad, had a massive part to play as well within your development and kind of upbringing?
My father's a savage. I can pop, and not just because he's my father. Like my father's a lot of respect from people. because he doesn't drink. He's never drank in his life, never taken drugs, never had any issues with, you know, vices like that. So he always was a hard worker. He was a fisherman, plaster, fisherman, taxi driver. He started up taxiing buses to now having multiple businesses all over Northern Ireland. So like he was an absolute savage, and like, you know, that's what I would say to dads out there now. I'm not a father yet, but like, you know, you want your kids to grow up looking at their father saying, my dad's a savage, like, you know, you don't mess with him, or he's gonna work, he's gonna do this. So like his influence in me was massive, even from a young age, you know. And he's very, what would we say, he's laid back. He doesn't, like, he's not one of those guys, he's not flash, you know, when he could be as flash as he could be, as flash as anybody out there. He just doesn't, it's not the way he is. He just, you know, he's 65 now. He still walks around the yard he has as if he's a caretaker. You wouldn't even, the way he dresses and woolly hat on him, and he just, people come in some days, says the boss about, and then he say, we'll go and get him here for you. And then he would say, you know, somebody said to him, you're fair pretty. He says, you're working away. He says, it's just as good, you know, to have a job, you know. So he never, you know, he never tries to be anything than what he really is, you know.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that old school mentality of just like getting up and going.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's definitely something in Northern Ireland. It's definitely out in more the countryside of things, where you have a lot of guys who are making great money, having a great life, and you'd never know.
Yeah.
They're not on social media. They've built businesses the old-fashioned way. They continue to build their business the old-fashioned way in terms of networking and just providing a great service. They're not on social media. They're not doing anything else. And they'll come and go, and the people who know about them will be the only people that know about them when they die. You know, they don't have a massive following. They don't have a massive influence, but their story, if they were to tell it, could probably be incredible and have a lot of lessons in it.
See, social media now is where people can establish themselves. It's great. Back then, those guys, those girls, women, that are true entrepreneurs now, 40 years on, 20 years on. Like, social media came out 2006, maybe 7. Not 100% sure. Like, before that there, it was word of mouth. And like, my dad built a massive word of mouth for his services, for his respect, for his, you know, his backup help. You know, he was always there. Like, I can see him still taking calls at 12 o'clock at night, getting out of bed, and like, if a bus broke down or someone's broke down, or even if it's a stranger, or maybe a family member or a friend or something, they call him, and he's always ready to you know, lift that call and take it. He but as I say, that he's built that he's just built that everybody knows him due to his hard work over the years, and didn't need social media to do it. He still uses social media. He's used social media now, but I call him a phantom social media user. He sits on it and scrolls through it, and he can tell you what's happening, like, and he enjoys the crack, you know.
Yeah.
But no, it just when you go back to that, we talk about why me, and I don't want to skip way forward. That's what I do now. I help dads out there become a better version of themselves, so they can offer to their kids. And once they see I do, you know. And it's I'm kind of grateful I didn't have kids in my 20s or 30s, because I wouldn't have liked them to seen the struggles I was going through. I don't think it would have been. It could have maybe settled me quicker. I don't know, but like, looking now, I just know I'm a better version now. I'm very like my father now, that I'm always there to help people. I'll pick up the calls. You know, I'm always ready to go. You know.
Yeah, I think what you touched on there in terms of timing, or even not taking your time, it feeds into a great quote I'd heard on a podcast recently from Chris Bumstead, and it definitely resonated with me. As you know, I've 2 young kids, and he said there will come a day where your kids will truly see who you are.
Yeah.
For a long time, regardless of your actions, regardless of what you do, your kids will see you as a superhero, as the person I want to follow. But there will come a day where they start to see the true reflection of who you are. And I guess it kind of boils down to how bad is that going to be?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be bad on a level. Like, no one's perfect.
Yeah.
No one is ever going to get it right. But you could, come that day of realization, be in a much worse place
Yeah.
than you need to be by not making the right steps earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
I just think it's planned out for you. It's what everything has happened to me in life. It was planned out. I didn't. I have become that role model for the 16, 17, 18-year-old me. So my goal is to get people to listen to me, watch me, believe every word I say. I don't tell lies. I used to. That's my insecurities. That was the lowness of my personal development. But I want to be that role model for the 16, 17, 18-year-old me. Before I touched alcohol. We'll touch that when we go on this podcast. And I want to be that role model for that 39, 40-year-old me. Because I had this conversation with someone very close to me the other day that was suicidal. And we had a real deep conversation. And they're at a certain age. I'm not going to say what age they are. And they said they just want to wake up and they want to die. Like when I was 21, I wanted to die. When I was 24, I wanted to die. When I was 31, 32, I wanted to die. When I was 30 but 35, I wanted to die. And when I was about 39, I wanted to die. And when I look back now, there were all connections to people, places and things. So likes of drink, likes of drugs, people I was hanging around with, places I was in, and the things obviously are the drink and the drugs. So, life's just planned out for you. Like we touched on kids there. Like I've dated people that have had kids, and I've been very, very good to them. So I know, I know there's a father in me. If it happens, it happens. It doesn't, it doesn't. I'm not gonna. It's just one of those things. It's just planned out. But, what was your question again? You hit me with tricky questions. Like
I think it was just very much you saying there about, you were saying about getting things right, and even what you've led on to there, like the person you were at 18, 19 would need you right now in their life.
Yeah.
And maybe if there was that, things could have panned out very differently for you. Because I think one thing that the listeners will be interested in to see if I'll ask you is obviously about the time in prison.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people, and you even might see it sometimes with trolley comments and things like that there, a lot of people don't want you to forget about it. And I think a lot of people then say again, like, sure, why would you listen to him?
Yeah.
They brand you with things like criminal and everything else. Obviously that, I'm sure, has played a massive part in your life. And I know you've talked about it a lot in your content in terms of how good and how bad that was. But for someone that has been in prison, just talk us through that. Just talk us through...
Like, the lead up to prison, like, people say, like, how do you go from, a great family, them bringing you up not to be sectarian, not to get involved in hate, to wanting you to do well at school. And like, it got to the stage, like, I become a very, very keen Gaelic footballer. And I won a lot of youth from under 12, 14, under 16, minor, under 21, right up to reserve and senior level. Played with some of the best players in my club, to name a few. Brian McGuigan, you had Gavin Devlin, Tommy McGuigan, Frank McGuigan, Faye Devlin. They're just county men that I'm coming off the top of my head. Stevie Coney. These are all great, and are now legends of the GAA. And they were in my club. And I played with all these guys and learned a lot from them now looking back. A lot of one-liners I have come from Stevie Coney. But, my downfall started when I was about 18, 19. Now, it was people, places and things. Now, I'm not blaming the people and someone will know who I'm talking about here. But it was people that I was hanging around with. I didn't drink at the time. I had no interest in drinking. Didn't even like the taste of it. I think when I was younger and I was down around the battery, I think I busted a keg or something, and the beer started coming out of it, and I actually put it in my mouth, and it give me that taste. And I never liked beer when I started drinking, but got to the stage I did like it. Liked it too much. But I started, when I was hanging around, like I went to Cookstown, Holy Trinity College, great school, still is, and I started hanging around with people that lived in towns, and not have any problem with loads of friends in towns, but it was different. Arbo, you would have had a handful of people would have took a drink or a smoke, and it never was really, but when I was around the town, it was just a thing, it was cool. So when I was hanging around with friends at the time, and some are still our friends, and some were in recovery. You know, they're recovering alcoholics, and had issues with drugs, all clean now, two or three of them that I was hanging around with. But I decided one night that I should try and drink. So I tried peach schnapps and orange. So I put plenty of orange in it, healed it into me. I suppose I had 5 or 6 in me, and then I just felt unstoppable. Just this load of energy, I could talk. And a wandering eye come into my head. You know, like one girl wasn't enough. So once I had alcohol in my body, looking back now, and this is me talking to the younger generation, I seen the issues then, but I thought that was normal. Like, I mean, the first night I was drunk, I went back to the person I was seeing at the time, their house, and took all my clothes off and started running out around the housing estate with nothing on me. And everybody thought this was funny. But like, if my parents knew I was doing that there, like, they would have been in trouble. Mm. So I do now understand what people, places and things are. So like, the drink escalated from doing things to getting violent. So fighting. You know, back when I was younger, I would have thought twice. I would have a bit of fear in me. So I wouldn't have been ready to fight. But once I had alcohol in me, I would have fought, like, you know, there was violence there. And I got in a few scraps now and again with drinking me. And, you know, I don't like that person. That person's still in me. That violent drunk is still in me. But I never want to see him again, you know, and I never will. And if I do want to see him again, I drink alcohol, you know. I'm not saying he comes out all the time, but just, I'm one of those people, I'll stand up for my people, you know. If somebody gets in a row, I'm stuck in the middle of it, which is nothing to do with me. But, you know, my first absolute traumatic time alcohol was the night I got driven over by a bus, drunk.
And what happened there? Did you just walk out in front of the bus?
I was drunk and I was along the curb, and I should have knew where I was standing at, and the bus mounted the curb and going over the top of my foot. I fell under the wheel. But like, if I was sober, I would have knew what I was doing. One of my mates maybe pushed me. We were messing about. It wasn't his fault, like. And I got a bus driven over the top of my right foot. So like, at that stage, I was about 19. I was playing for my club senior team. We actually played the night before in the championship, and that was my football career just completely cut. I was cut. I never ever should have played again. Like, I was meant to get the foot amputated. I've 6 screws still in it at the minute. There was 6 screws in it. There was a wire put in it. There was a plate put in it. It's fused. Like, it just, you know, it's 2 sizes smaller than my left foot. And that was the first, you know, where drink, alcohol, you know, I have in my head that night. I would have been dead, like, you know, with the foot. So it was to get the foot amputated, but they end up saving it. So it took about a year for it to settle itself. Bad infections, in and out of hospital for weeks, like, upon weeks I was in hospital. I think I was in it for 4 weeks whenever it actually happened before I got out. And I had to go private, and it was that badly infected that they couldn't operate on it, you know. And then when they did operate on it 9 months later, the blood stopped to the big toe a few times. They had to just shut it up, and whatever they'd done, they had to. But like, if I showed you now in an X-ray, it's a mess, you know. But that was the first, you know, traumatic event with alcohol, and then there was many more to follow after that.
And was that then what led to kind of?
That was in 2000. I was February or March 2022.
Yeah.
And then in September 2003, and I'm going to be respectful here and not go into what happened. I found myself arrested, and I arrested for murder, which down the line I was found guilty of manslaughter, and I was given a 4-year prison sentence. Now, I stayed in house arrest for 2.5 years, so basically curfews, no alcohol, no licensed premises, not even a restaurant. Curfew was like 8 o'clock in the morning to like 6 or 7 in the evening, so it was very, very restricted in what I could do. You know, I wasn't allowed into certain towns, wasn't allowed out of the house after 7 o'clock, had a sign bail 3 times a week, so it was pretty heavy bail conditions, which I deserved, you know. I deserved it. Back then I thought, oh, poor me, oh, no, what have I done? You know, I destroyed a lot of people's, you know, futures, lives, you know, and still to this day, I know I still have, and I'll be forever, you know, sorry for it, but, you know, not everybody will forgive you, and they're the right not to, but some people have a change of heart, and I've seen that happen, you know, with people. But that then led till that was October 2005. I was given a 4-year sentence, and then went to McGabry prison.
And you've talked on and off about how at that time in your life going to prison was the best thing for you, where I think a lot of other people, well, I guess let's bring it back. At that time, did you think going to prison was the best thing for you, or is it only once you came out upon reflection and had got the benefit of being in prison?
The day I was sentenced, I mind it happening as Judge Deeney sentenced me, and it was 4 years. And looking back, I still read the Google notes and all on it. Still to this day, like, people think, oh, he doesn't care. Trust me, it feels like it was yesterday. I still feel that. Still think about it every day. Still pray, and the judge gave me 4 years, and I went downstairs, and I was absolutely gutted. Like, now, if I could have took my own life, I would have done it. You couldn't do it. They took the tie off me, they took the laces out of my shoes, they took the belt off me, they just took it, and there's nothing there. They couldn't do anything. And I went into that cell, and for some reason, the prison guards were there. They bring you down. I didn't know at the time who they were, I just thought they were staff. And they says, look, we're going to bring you out here. So they brought me out to my family. And obviously there's another family away home, fucking devastated. Maybe happy I was jailed, maybe not for long enough, but they were devastated too. But I was still here. So my family was brought in. They say this never happens. They brought them into a room, but I was a glass. It was a glass
window.
Yeah, so like, I mean, pile of people were there, like mates of mine. I always remember Big Stuff when he's watched this, you know. I always remember him, and he was in tears, you know, like, and grown man. And I remember my father wouldn't be he's not an emotional type of guy. Like, he won't give you a hug, or, you know, but he'll give you advice. And I mind putting his hand against the glass, you know, to touch my hand, and we did touch, but we couldn't because through the thing, you know. That was a heartbreaking moment for me. I like, see now, if I was to tell you that 3 years ago, I would have teared up here. But like, this is what personal development is. I'm not cold, but I realise that I deserved that pain I was going through for what I done. It's only now that I've personally developed myself that I realise that I deserved every bit of pain that I was going through. You know, there shouldn't have been any mercy on me, because I'd done something that can never be fixed. You know, but I still have my life ahead of me. So I was taken away back into the cell, and I sat there. I was there from about 10:30 in the morning to about 5:30, and I couldn't understand why it was there so long. So I had to wait for everybody else to be sentenced. So there was just a load of us put into they call it the horse box, all cuffed in. We're just sitting there, and you're just driving up the motorway from Moira from Belfast Court to what do you call it, to McGabry, and I could see everybody driving up down past the motorway, You know, this is how time doesn't stop. The day that I walked up to go to court, I'll never forget it. I looked in to the left, and I've told this before, and there was this big hole in the ground in Belfast. I says to Daddy, like, I was only about 23, 24. I says, what's going on there? He says, oh, they're building a big shopping centre there. So I walked on up, like I say, court, come out 2 years later, Victoria Square was built. It was just a big, massive hole in the ground, you know.
Yeah.
It just goes to show, like, time just doesn't stop for no one.
Yeah.
And, like, it's the only thing you can't buy back. You know, time can't be bought back. You can get more money. You know, you can get more friends. You get more relationships. You can do all them. You can have more kids. You can't buy time back. So that was me in to what I call the Heartbreak Hotel, McGabry Prison, Category A. Some of the most violent, sick prisoners, you know, that you could ever think of. And I seen them, met them, eye to eye with them, touching distance. So that was I was 23, 24, and that was the start of that. And still hadn't lived my life. Just that window of 19 to 23, 24, short, whole lot of mayhem, self-sabotaging, even during bail conditions. Some of the things that I was going through my head, you know. But I was riddled with guilt. You know, guilt, shame, embarrassment. I didn't know how to deal with it.
And when you went into prison, we know you've talked about it loads in your content and through other stories, but that was kind of your first introduction to what you call now the non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Didn't know that at the time, but obviously now in terms of part of the program and part of how you live your life is with your daily non-negotiables. But just even talk us through that kind of introduction to that.
Well, my first introduction would have been in 2003. I was remanded for a week in prison. So just threw in, crazy. It's shocking to the body what happens when you go in there. Anybody says, oh, you're only in for a week, in that place for a day. Because people in there are crazy people in there. Just off their head and drunk, on drugs. They don't know what they're doing, you know. They're psychopaths on it. It's just crazy. Like, you know, people that have cut people's heads off, never have got out. You know, loyalist prisoners, Republican prisoners, everybody's in there. It's just a world of its own. So I was in there for a week, and then I got out on bail. So, right. So the second journey in, you're just asking there now, was you go in and you're put into a big holding cell. Everybody's in. You can see out through the windows, and there's like a reception. It's like a hotel, and they're just calling you out one by one, take you in, check in, take your clothes off you, take your underwear off you. You're completely demoralised. You know, some of the prison guards were 100%. Some of them were just, I was going to say, well, scumbags, because the personal development was that low. Because that's the way they were there. Like I was somebody's brother, somebody's son, you know, and they were like laughing at you and making comments at you, and you know, just because they were having a bad day. You talk about haters. There's haters in there, but there was some great prison guards in there as well that I still know to this day. So you're checked in. You're given very, very. It's non-negotiable. They were non-negotiable. You too. Like, you weren't allowed aerosol cans. You weren't allowed hooded tops. You weren't allowed certain types of aftershave. You weren't allowed aftershave. It was bare essentials. So it was non-negotiable essentials. You got was a blue mug, a blue plate for your dinner, a blue bowl for your cereal, and a plastic knife and fork. And that was yours. There you are. Put them in and you get a big brown paper bag. Put them in it. And if your clothes didn't match what you did with you to their non-negotiables, you had to wear prison clothing. So a pair of jeans, white t-shirt, and a pair of slip-on shoes. And then you were put back on the holding cell. Everybody else was checked in. And then you were taken to your cell. So
I think we could probably do an entire podcast on the life in prison.
Yeah.
And we probably will at some point down the line. But I think it's important just to move on. And talk about a topic that we had just spoken about in our content, you know, maybe about an hour later, in terms of there's always another rock bottom.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you'll disagree with me on how maybe being in prison during that time can seem, you know, as a rock bottom. There's nothing underneath this. But then, as we know, once you came out of prison, was then the next challenge of addiction.
So like, you asked there about the non-negotiables. So like, as you said there, the coming out stage. So whenever I was in prison, I had a non-negotiable routine, right? And this is what we'll talk about towards the end here, how that helps other people on the outside and how it could have helped me if I had brought it out with me. So your non-negotiables was you had a wake-up time, right? Your milk was outside your door. You didn't get it, it was gone. So you knew you had to get up. It was dog eat dog, right? And that's what the world can be like out here. You know, if you think about it. But if you follow a non-negotiable routine, there's no dog eat dog. Everything just flows. So there was a wake up time, a breakfast time, a go to work time, a break time, go back to work time, dinner time, and then there was the gym time, and then there was supper time, and then it was lock up. And that was 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. It was non-negotiable. And like, I learned how to wash clothes in there. Didn't know how to do it. Make my bed. Iron clothes. Cook. All those different things that I couldn't do for myself in my early 20s. And some young boys can't do now. And even men in their 30s and 40s and 50s still can't do. Like I have clients in my group in their 60s that their life has just swung straight around the gap because they never had a non-negotiable routine. So whenever I got out of prison, I threw that non-negotiable routine straight into the hedge. The praying went, like the praying as well, massive. I'm a massive spiritual person. Now I don't thump the Bible or eat all the rails off it, but I have a serious connection with God. I believe in God. People believe in whatever they want to believe in, whatever their higher power is. That's mine. But like when I get out, I just threw everything. I was praying 2 or 3 times a day, going to mass, you know, but I just threw everything over the hedge as soon as I get out. And I went straight into the mayhem, the self-sabotaging. Like the first weekend I was out on parole, I went to Planet Love and I took my first ecstasy tablet. Never took a drug in my life. Didn't even know what they looked like. And that was it. As soon as I took it, the buzz I got from that took away all the pain and all the anger and the jealousy and there's 2 massive vices people have. They don't know it's jealousy and anger. All the shame. I took it all away because I just left who I really was and became something else. And that was I just become a negotiable person. You know, anything went. You know.
So I'm sure at the time you didn't think that the drugs at Planet Love would have led down the path that you ended up going on.
No, at that time I just thought, obviously I knew I was doing something wrong. I have this thing now that my conscience, now that I've come conscious, right? Subconscious, conscious. Once I get that voice in my head, my conscience is, that's the authentic voice of God telling me, do or don't do that. Or if you have done it, regret is your guideline. All right, when you regret doing something, you should know. But I didn't regret doing that. So at that time, I thought it was okay to feel that way because I didn't want to feel. I didn't want to be that person who was in jail. I thought that was boring. I know people go, you know, when they get bored, say, I'm bored. So what do? They go to the mayhem. So I because I was bored in prison and I got out, I went to the mayhem. You know, and I thought that was okay. So I wasn't conscious. So it wasn't, my conscious mind wasn't being fed properly. So I just thought that was okay, you know, to do that. And it spiraled into doing it every other weekend, to then doing it every weekend. And that continued for about, that was in September. And then it was August of the following year, 2008, that I was introduced to cocaine. I was in a house party, and I'm not blaming these people that, like, some of these people that did this with me have quit too. They're in recovery. I was offered a Coke, and then a Coke. I go, oh, jeez, I wouldn't put that. Bad enough swallowing something, but, you know, putting something up my nose. And I just done it. I was too much drinking me, too much. I was alcohol fueled again. Like if I had an alcohol in me, I wouldn't do it. And I took a line of coke, and Jesus Christ, you know, the high I got of that, like that was me away again. I could only get so high with ecstasy. I needed another hit. I needed a higher vice to give me a higher dopamine hit. You know, and once I hit that, then that went on from 2008 right up until on and off to then it just got too regular every time I took drink. So like people say to me, "Have you a drug problem?" I go, "No." But I says, "But if I don't take drink, I won't take drugs." So once I took the drink, then I want the drugs. So if I don't take the drugs, I don't want the drink. Or if I don't take the drink, I don't want the drugs. So I'm not spiraling off to, like it's drink, drugs, partying, all them vices all flood in once I took alcohol. Now there's people out there that dry sniff or take ecstasy and stuff, and they don't drink. So obviously they have a drug problem, you know. And their life becomes unmanageable. And my life just become like I still was, you know, still running business. We get to that point of starting a business, but this was all before I started my fitness business. You know, I was always into training, and I worked in the gym in the jail, and that's what gave me the idea of becoming a gym owner. But like I had, like it was 2008, 2009, and a part of 2007 I've been completely fucking unmanageable.
What was the turning point to kind of leave the addiction behind or try to get rid of the addiction? Because we've talked about before how you believe addiction is a choice.
Yeah.
So again, what was it that made the choice then to stop it?
Well, between that period of me starting to take drugs and then opening a business in 2010, I opened LS Results Gym. 2014 opened another franchise of it in Dungiven. End of 2015 opened another franchise in Cookstown, and then 2017 opened another franchise on the other side of Cookstown, or the middle of Cookstown. So like, you know, even though I was drinking, taking drugs, I was still, I suppose I was getting the dopamine hit of opening businesses and becoming successful and getting a name on social media, to then, right, what kind of a hit can I get outside of that? So the weekends it was drinking, drugs, raves, house parties, stuff like that. And then that went on from about 2010 till about 2019, and then COVID hit. And I knew I had an issue when I started drinking. I had an issue during that time, but like the real proper, you know, addiction, the whole change in me did happen when COVID come. So once COVID come, you know, we weren't working, we're in the house, we're getting money, you know, and everybody just took this idea of drinking at home and getting the carryouts and opening bars at home, and just started drinking then, and that just become the norm. We were all online singing, we were doing lives together, we're doing all those type of things, and it just become a norm for me. And whenever everything started open back up again, and like during that time with COVID too, I built a state-of-the-art gym, and I built a house which I sold to someone that it wasn't for sale. They wanted the house, I didn't want to sell it, and I put a price on the house, and they wanted my Jeep as well, so I sold all, done really well out of it. And this was all during addiction. You know, that I was able to do these things during that. But now, away from that, I'm doing even bigger things now. But it was COVID, I got caught at COVID. You know, it started drinking in the house, and then the pubs open. Then I was drinking in the pubs. And then I got sick of drinking in the house, but I was always drinking Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday evenings. So I started to go to the pub in the evening times because I had no connection. My connection was alcohol and my friends coming around to my house. That connection was gone. So I had to go to the pub. So I was in the pub every night. Some people say to me, I hit it well. Like, I was drinking. Even some of my Snapchat stories on it, I would have sent them Snapchat stories to friends that would have drank as well. I never would have put them on my story. But I was maybe sitting in the pub with a video of me letting on I was in the gym. I done this workout today. That was maybe I was shot the week before when I had had a sore head or I didn't feel groggy. I done a workout. I'll put that up when people think I'm in the gym. I wasn't in the gym. I was cancelling clients, because I had a hangover. So that went on from COVID 2019, wasn't it?
Yep.
So it was March 2019 till about...
Was March 2020?
2020.
Yeah.
2020, sorry. So it was March 2020 to January 2022. So that was, nearly 2 years of constantly drinking every night. I never drank on a Monday. I think twice in my entire life I drank on a Monday. It was after big football games. I drank on a Monday. Never drank on a Monday. I was drinking every Monday. I had to get up, got my bits and pieces done, and I was in the pub for 11, 12 o'clock, sipping a pints to take the anxiety away. The only thing that took my anxiety was alcohol. Now a cold plunge takes it away because it drops my heart rate. So once I drunk the alcohol, it dropped my heart rate. Now I jump into cold water, it drops my heart rate. So if I was to push you into cold water now, in the middle of the sea, you'd likely die because your heart rate would drop. You take a heart attack. So I was taking the alcohol to ease the anxiety and the depression. So in January, I think it was the 8th or 9th of January, my father, I was missing funerals and everything. People dying, missing their funerals, catching them at the very end, not going to wakes because I couldn't face the public because I was that anxious because of the alcohol. So the point that I realised that I had a problem was my father. I went in one day and he normally would give after me about drinking and stuff like that. He didn't drink because he knew I couldn't handle it. But he just sat me down one day. He said, "Look, son, I'm not going to argue with you, but I'm going to tell you something, and I want you to take it the right way." He says, "You're an alcoholic and you don't know it." And that hit me like a ton of bricks because nobody had ever called me an alcoholic before. And to me, that was a bad word. Calling it, that's just an insult to somebody. So that was, I think, the 8th to the 9th of January that I got that. I left that conversation, went straight to the pub, drunk 4 pints. On the 5th pint, I was on the last mouthful of it, and the barman says to me, "I'll get you a pint before I go off." This was about 5 o'clock before I go off. And I says, "No," I says, "that's the last pint I'll ever drink." And that's whenever I reached out for help. And we done the beached. You know the story.
Yep.
Reached out to Marty, and that's where it all started. That's where it began. Now it hasn't been plain sailing. I was 7 months sober in AA, and something happened to me. Someone in my life went in our country, tore the ACL in my knee, and then somebody in the AA room said to me, if I could handle alcohol, I would drink again. I love drink. So I just needed them 3 excuses. Them 3 connections. Like, I lost the connection. Someone went in our country. I lost connection with football because of my ACL tear, and then I started to pick up the connection then to drink. Could I handle it? So I went out and I tried it again, and I drank for about 5 months. It started off slow, couple of pints the first night, great, everything was fine. Following week, couple of pints, everything was fine. The first night I drank, I didn't go to the pub the first morning, but I went at 5:30 that evening. It was okay to go at 5:30. Then I ended up drunk again, and it just spiraled back into where I was going again. The drugs come back in, the lying, the hiding, hangovers, the anxiety, the depression. One day I lay in bed for 2 days. I took sleeping tablets because I knew I needed to get off the drink, and I lay in bed for 2 days and never woke up because I took sleeping tablets to take away the anxiety. So the only way I could get rid of anxiety was to drink alcohol.
And when the door closes and you were kind of in those quiet moments when it was just you and your thoughts, what was that like?
I'd done a lot of talking to God above, but I was asking for things, but I was given nothing in return. Please take the obsession of alcohol away. But I was never going to say, right, I'm going to be a nicer person. I'm going to help other people. I'm going to share what I went through to be that role model to the 16, 17, 18-year-old me. Be that role model to the 38-year-old me, 39-year-old me. All them different periods of times that I felt suicidal. But every time I was suicidal, it was my own fault. It was my own fault. I was the thinker, but I'm now the watcher. So, say, there's me looking down at me now, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to do that, what I'm not meant to do. Then the watcher quickly steps in and says, here, to the ego, bye-bye. You ain't welcome here anymore. But you need that ego to come back and forth, because it needs to give you a wee kick. I can step out of character. Trust me, I can step out of character and get myself in trouble. But I'm becoming a lot aware of the ego, of that voice inside my head that tells me to do this, do that I'm not meant to do. I'll go, look, the devil won't show up looking like the devil. If he did, you wouldn't hang around with him. And your enemy will not show up like your enemy. You'll not hang around with him. It'll show up in drink, drugs, porn, gambling, shitty food, just people, places and things. Once I was fit to tap into that, I was free,
And would you say after so you went sober for 7 months, and then you had the relapse for 5 months. During that second stint then, would you say that's when you really started to dive deep into the non-negotiables? So like the cold plunge?
Yeah, I was doing those. So I was being stubborn while sober. I just was being stubborn. So I was stubborn as a dry drunk, let's say. So I went back to AA, and this is where we come to this part of, I had this discussion with a friend there in the recent weeks about mindset coaching. Is it a scam? Is it a pyramid scheme? Is it or does this really help people? I was on the other side of the fence with it. I says no, it's just pure scam, because I knew people that was doing it. You've got your goats. You've got Proctor. You've got Tony Robbins. You've got Hill, Napoleon Hill. You've got all them books, them philosophers, all them quotes. They're all the goats. And then you've new people, right? And some of them are savage as well, but they've learned from these guys here. But they've took their knowledge, but have they took their actual habits? It's okay downloading the knowledge and spitting it out to people, but have you quit the smoking? Have you quit the drugs? Have you quit the drink? Have you quit the cheating, the lying? And I know a lot of them that teach the stuff that haven't. I know they still, I seen someone recently there, and I'll be honest, they're 20 stone plus. I have nothing against anybody that's overweight. I'm here to help you. I want to trigger you to say, look, I don't want to be like this anymore. But I seen someone really overweight, they're a mindset coach, and they're telling people it's all about discipline. But they're over 20 stone weight. How's it discipline? They have no discipline themselves, and they're training the nutrition and how they look. God gave us a body to carry around our soul. We have to look after it. One of my clients come to me and says to me, when he started with me, and he had the Bible, and he'd be on this podcast. He's a savage. He says to me, I said, why have you that Bible? He says, I want to get closer to God. I says, but you can't get closer to God. I says, you've shut the door on him. He goes, no, I pray. I says, that's okay. You're overweight. You're 20 odd stone. He's give you that body. This man was about 110 plus kg. And that just triggered him. He opened that door because I knew God sent him my way to help him, so he can help other people out there that's overweight. And he now is sitting at nearly 90 kg. He's nearly 20 kg off. Inside 8 or 9 weeks. This is going to be mind-blowing. And he's so thankful for what I done. But so I went off one there. I'll go back to, is it a scam? There is people out there will scam you. People, I know horror stories of people who are told to go and get credit cards. Now, I would never, ever tell a client of mine to go and get a credit card or a loan. But I'm not going to come on here and be a hypocrite. I'll tell you what 3 of my clients done. 3 of them went to the credit union and they got a loan. It was 1,500 quid. I did not tell them to do it. The first one that done it, I nearly took a heart attack. I goes, what are you at? He says, Ryan, I have invested money. I went and got a car finance. So if I walk in to a car place, Ryan, the first thing they're going to offer me is finance, because they're going to get profit on the finance and they're going to get a kick out of themselves. And, the car is going to cost more than it actually costs. And he said, I blew money at that. So I blew money with drugs. I've got loans out to go to Ibiza, places like that. And this person took out it was £1,000 loan, £1,000 loan. And within 3 months in our group, one of the other group members who has 850 men working for him, last month, I think he told me their turnover was 3 million. He took a shine to him, gave him a job. Doubled his wages, right? He only works 4 days a week. He was working 6. And he is off Friday, Saturday and Sunday. He's got a company vehicle, and he's life, no, quit the drink, quit the drugs, back playing football, living a life unbelievable. Another fella come to me as well. He done 3 months. He told me, look, I have the money, I'm going to send the credit union, send it. And I goes, like, are you sure? He goes, listen, I'm an alcoholic. I'm a drug addict. I've tried everything. I lost my father. I lost my brother to tragic circumstances as well, to do a drinking drugs. He says, I must invest this money. And he invested the money in. He's doing another 3 months and absolutely flying. More money, lost a load of weight, feels great, got in a relationship, going to all these Napoleon Hill days out. And he knows when he sees someone there if they're a bluffer or they're... So, like, I will not get anybody to take out credit. I just think it's wrong. And I won't tell somebody to quit their job. So if somebody comes to me and they're working a 9 to 5 in McDonald's, I'm not going to tell them here to stop McDonald's. We need people. We like our McDonald's. We want them served to us. So why should we look down at people who work 9 to 5? I hate that when I hear that there with mentors. Oh, I'm going to change your life and you're not going to work 9. We need the 9 to 5. We need the bricklayers, the joiners. Like, I would be nobody without these people. But we can help these people become a better version of themselves. Then they can ask for more money, early rate. Or if they've got a business, they can ask for, once you see someone who's ripped, rich and rare, ripped as in they're in good shape. Rare is rich is that they've got, they're doing well for themselves. They wear nice clothes, they go to nice restaurants. They don't have to have villas and stuff and Lamborghini stuff. And the third thing's rare. They've no vices. Once you see somebody, you're going to do business with them, or you're going to give them a job, or you're going to give them a pay rise, or you're going to go into business with them. So, like, this is what this mentoring's for. But I was dead against it. But just as my second stint in sobriety, I knew I had to get outside the AA room, because every time I come into the AA room, my addiction was outside doing press ups. It was waiting on me. It was doing pull ups. It was ready for me. Right, I'm going to fuck you up again. But I was fit to go out there and get personally developed and realise that I did not have a disease. I had a fucking choice issue. I had a connection issue. Once I connected myself to training, eating better, not taking self-medicated drugs, like the sleeping tablets that time to sleep because I couldn't sleep because I was drinking that much. Once I stopped all that and then come over to here and start eating better, training, helping other people, I didn't have a disease. The choice is over. If I want to go out and kill myself, I can run outside there and jump in front of a car. That's a choice. Yeah. But if I can't choose, if I get cancer, touch wood I don't, I can't choose. That's a disease. But I know people will I'll get people on here that are struggling, that'll say, he's wrong. Like, if you can check it out yourself, Ryan, I don't know when the last was scientifically proven that it's a disease. Last time I looked, it was in the 1940s or 1960s. I know if current studies say it's a disease, but I didn't have a disease. I had a choice issue.
Yeah, so I've just Googled it here. 1987 was whenever they said that alcoholism was an illness. Yeah. Was a disease.
What's the recent studies? That's 87.
I don't think there is a more recent one.
Because if I tell somebody it's a disease and they go and they do it again, they'll turn around and say to me, sure, I have a disease, I can't get rid of it. That's the way I look at it. And some people disagree with me, but I don't disagree with them. If they feel they have a disease, then they have a disease. I don't have it. Because, like, if I continue to go into AA rooms in 30 years' time and stand up and say, my name's Ryan Quinn, I'm an alcoholic, but I haven't drank in 30 years. How can I be an alcoholic? Now, if I've drank again and in and out and constantly relapsing, yes, I'm 100% full-blown alcoholic. But I made the choice to quit drinking, and I've quit. I don't have no obsession for it. I think it's weird. But anybody who wants to go out there and drink away. I'm not going to steal your lessons. You can't steal people's lessons. That's what I try to do. When I get sober at the very start, 4 or 7 months, everybody's quit drinking. And I was putting all these posts up on social media. But in my head, I had some kind of disease and everybody should stop it. But now I was trying to steal other people's lessons. They have to learn their own lessons. Nobody stole my lessons. I had to learn them, and I was hit hard. But I fail forward now. If anything ever happens, I just fail forward, get up, go again.
Yeah, because we know that you have members within what you do who would still drink.
Yeah.
Now, again, and even again, D, who was on the podcast, you know, he would have said he never had an alcohol problem. He would have never said he was an alcoholic. He still drinks to this day, but he's made other choices.
He stopped.
Oh, has he stopped drinking?
He stopped. No, everybody, I don't tell them to stop drinking. They just stop. It doesn't complement their non-negotiable habits. They want to get up early. If they drink, they're not going to get up early. You know, they want to train. If they drink, they're not going to train. They know the facts, but some of the guys in the group and girls have tried to drink, even though they had a drink problem. Just quit. It says doesn't. It's weird. You know, they just think it's just, you know. People come on there and they're like on social media and they're taking videos of themselves drinking and all, and maybe smoking a joint or all, and think this is great. But when I come on and I show that I'm in good shape and I'm training and I'm eating good, I'm weird. So they look at me as weird, but I look at them as weird. But I used to be that weird. But I'd rather be over here. You know, I don't need to escape who I am. Like, I can go to the shop now, look at somebody. I can do this podcast here now, look you straight in the eyes. We're looking all around the place. Like, most people I walk up to the drink, they can't look me in the eyes and talk to me. Because they're thinking of what they've done the weekend. Now, anybody can go out and have 2 or 3 drinks and leave it at that and go home. They're a legend. There's very few of them that I can meet that does that. But like anybody in my group, they've all quit. They've all quit drinking. I didn't tell them to quit, but it doesn't serve them. They just says it's not for me.
What's the overall goal with your group, with you creating the group, with you mentoring these people, with you doing everything that you're doing? What is the goal here?
My goal is to show. My goal now is to become the best version of myself and offer it to the world, which I'm doing right now, and I'm going to get better. I want people to do the exact same. Why should I only be fit? Why should it only be me making the money and, you know, driving the nice cars and, you know, building the nice gyms and doing all this? I want everybody else to do that now. I used to be. There's 2 massive vices. It's hate and jealousy. I used to be I should be the best PT. I should have the biggest gym. I should have the most gyms, blah, blah. See, now I want everybody. See, if somebody built a gym in the field beside mine, I'd wish them the best of luck. You know, my goal is to be that role model for the 16, 17, 18-year-old me, right? That going down the path I went down, you're going to slip, right? And it's a very, very, very slippery slope to get back up. And I want to be that role model for the 39-year-old me that had to stop drink, drugs, and what other vices come with it. And I just want to see everybody achieve, you know, the best version of themselves and offer to their family, their kids, their mother, their father, their brother, just become the best brother or the best sister, the best husband, the best wife, the best businessman, businesswoman, work colleague. You just want the best version of you. I just offer. No, everybody, everywhere would be great. Be great. But it's going that way with everybody. I can see it. Massive pivot. You just have to keep pivoting.
I think to bring the podcast to a close, I'd love to ask you a question. Do you think the younger version of you would be proud of who you are now?
Yeah. The younger version of me, I'm becoming who the younger version of me wanted to be. And I got a second chance at it. Because if I was asked this question there recently. What would I tell my 20-year-old self? Or 18, 19? Be sober. Even though you have an issue of drink at that time, be sober. Because if I ever did what I do now in my 20s and 30s, I'd be free. But I'm not saying now drink when you get to 40 or 50. I think you could possibly handle it better than them, because there's people that don't drink till they're 30 or 40, but they don't personally develop themselves in that 20 to 30 mark. They just slog it out, and then they get to 40 and they just say, fuck it, I'm going to start drinking now. Next thing, they just completely self-sabotage themselves. Where somebody builds up unbelievable personal development structure in their 20s and their 30s, they're an absolute savage when they hit their 40s. But I had it now to wait till I'm 40 to do what I'm doing. And like my goal is, when I get to my 50s, I'll be that person that my 16, 17-year-old always dreamt to be. You know?
And I think there's lessons in that as well, though, that it's never too late.
No, it's never too late. I have a client at the minute at 65. I was savage in his 20s, 30s, 40s. Something happened in his 50s. And it was his own fault. I'm not going to go into it. And his actual son his son's in the group as well. Savage as well. Turning 200,000-300,000 a month. And he brought his dad to me. And now him and his dad's like getting to be like that. Because he just had a couple of wee pivots he had to make inside his mindset that freed him. You know, he's down over a stone weight. He's hitting over 10,000 steps a day, out walking. He's tracking his calories, tracking his macros. Like, it's so easy. All you have to do is get up early, right? Have some gratitude, you know, and that's praying. Read a page out of a book. That was going to switch your mind on to positivity. Go take your supplements. Go to the gym, work out, and learn how to count your macros. And there's just six things there that are non-negotiable, and your life will change.
What would you like to say to close out the podcast?
So, guys, it's not all about me, but it's why me. And I know people it's going to say, why me? Why did this happen to me? Why that? All I'm saying, guys, why me? Everybody needs a why. And there's people watching today needs me to be their mentor into a life beyond your wildest dreams. I'm proving it. Sometimes I have to pinch myself to say, am I really changing people's lives like this? But guys, I will look after me for you if you look after you for me. And the old saying goes, keep living, keep strong, KeeperLS. A boy.